There is a bay in southern Japan where the water was once so clear you could see the fish moving beneath your boat. The people who lived there had a word for it. They called it the Sea of the Gods. It fed them. For generations, everything a family ate came out of that water. And then, one summer, the cats began to dance. They twitched. They staggered in circles. They threw themselves off the harbor walls into the sea and drowned. The villagers laughed at first. Then they stopped laughing, because the same thing was starting to happen to their children. Something in the bay was poisoning them. And the company that ran the town, the company that had built the schools, the hospital, the harbor itself, already knew what it was. They would keep the secret for 9 more years. To understand Minamata, you first have to understand that Minamata was Chiso. Before the corporation arrived, it was a poor fishing village. Then, in the early 20th century, a chemical company built a factory on the shore, and the village became a town. Chiso was the town's heart. It gave people jobs, wages, electricity. It built the roads and paid for the hospital. In Minamata, the company and your survival were the same thing. To speak against Chiso was to speak against your own family's next meal. By the middle of the century, the factory was producing acetaldehyde, a chemical used to make plastics, drugs, perfumes. The modern world ran on it. To make it, the factory used mercury as a catalyst. Now, here is the part no one in the town understood. Inside those reaction tanks, the mercury didn't just sit there and do its job. A fraction of it changed into a new compound called methyl mercury, one of the most efficient nerve poisons ever to exist. And every day, the factory flushed its waste straight out into the bay. The clear water. The Sea of the Gods. The fish the whole town lived on. From 1932, the poison poured into that bay. Quietly. Invisibly. For decades before anyone said a single word. The sea gives no warning. But the animals did. Long before the doctors had a name for it, the people of Minamata noticed the cats. Household cats, the ones that ate the fish scraps, began to convulse. They spun. They salivated. They walked into walls. The villagers called it the dancing cat disease. And then the cats began running into the sea to die. Birds fell out of the sky. Fish floated belly up. But in a town built on fishing, no one wanted to ask too loudly what was wrong with the fish. Then it reached the people. It began with a little girl. Her hands stopped obeying her. She couldn't hold her chopsticks. Her speech slurred, her body jerked. She struggled to walk. Within weeks, she was rigid, screaming, unable to control her own limbs. Then her sister. Then the neighbors. Whole families, falling to the same terrifying thing. On the 1st of May, 1956, the director of the Chiso factory hospital, a doctor named Hosokawa, reported it to the health authorities. An unknown disease of the central nervous system. And because no one could explain it, the town did what frightened people do. They decided it must be contagious. Families with the disease were shunned. Their homes were disinfected. They were treated as something to be quarantined, as if the victims themselves were the threat. They were not contagious. They were being poisoned. Every one of them had eaten fish from the same bay. By the end of that first year, 54 people were confirmed sick. 17 were already dead. For 3 years, the cause stayed a mystery, at least, officially. Researchers from Kumamoto University worked the problem. And in 1959, they reached a conclusion that pointed straight at the factory gates. The disease was being caused by organic mercury. The same mercury Chiso was pouring into the bay. Chiso's response was not to stop, it was to fight the science. The company funded rival theories, blamed anything else, anything but their own waste. But inside Chiso's own hospital, one man decided to test it properly. Dr. Hosokawa, the same doctor who had first reported the outbreak, took the factory's wastewater and fed it directly to healthy cats. He numbered them, and in October 1959, one of those cats, the animal recorded only as cat number 400, began to convulse, to spin, to die, exactly like the cats in the village, exactly like the children. Hosokawa had his proof. The factory's own waste was the killer. He took it to Chiso's management. They ordered him to stop the experiments. They locked the results away. And they said nothing, not to the town, not to the government, not to the families still burying their dead. And here is the coldest part of all. Chiso built a device it called a purifier, and made a public show of installing it. Proof, they said, that the water was now safe. Company executives even drank a glass of the treated water in front of cameras. It did nothing. The purifier wasn't designed to remove mercury at all. And the factory kept discharging the poison for nearly another decade. The bay kept killing, and the disease found a new way in, the cruelest one yet. Babies began to be born already destroyed by it. Children who had never eaten a single fish, born rigid and blind and unable to move. The mercury had crossed the placenta. In the womb, the mothers' bodies had unknowingly funneled the poison into their unborn children. They called it congenital Minamata disease. A poison passed from a mother who had done nothing wrong to a child who never had a chance. For years, the victims of Minamata were invisible. A remote fishing town. A disease with a strange name. A company powerful enough to make sure the story stayed small. Then, in 1971, an American photographer came to Minamata. And he took one photograph. It showed a mother bathing her teenage daughter, Tomoko, a girl poisoned in the womb, her body locked and twisted by a factory's waste. The mother holds her the way you hold a newborn. Looking at her not with despair, but with love. That single image went around the world. Suddenly Minamata was not a rumor. It was a face. The truth about the cover-up came out too. Dr. Hosokawa, dying of cancer, finally testified about cat number 400, about the proof Chiso had buried back in '59. The company had known. It had known for 9 years, and let the poison flow. The lawsuits came, the protests came. Roughly 27 tons of mercury compounds had been flushed into that bay. Thousands were sickened. More than 1,700 were officially confirmed dead, and many believe the true number is far higher. Chiso paid. But you cannot compensate a childhood spent unable to move. You cannot undo a bay. Today, the water in Minamata is clean again. Children swim there. The fish are safe to eat. But the name never recovered. Because in 2013, more than 140 nations signed a global treaty to control mercury pollution, so that no town would ever go through this again. They needed a name for it. A single word that would mean this must never happen twice. They called it the Minamata Convention. A fishing town, on a bay that once fed the gods, its name now carved into international law, as a warning.